Well, welcome to See, Hear, Love, and it's Wednesday, and we're halfway through your week, and we're so glad that you have joined us here today. Sometimes we call it Hump Day, or is it Hump Day?
Yeah.
But then people laugh at me, and I don't know why. Why?
Getting over the hump of the week.
I know, that's what I say. But every time I say it, so I've stopped saying it, so that's why I say it. We're halfway through the week.
I'm uncomfortable with it.
You can tell how it's going to go, this show. And I'm really excited about this show because as a host, I usually love to talk and, talk more and ask questions and talk. But in this show, I'm actually going to be listening, in a posture of listening. And everybody was like, yay! And I'm going to do less talking, maybe just in the beginning, and then more listening throughout the show because I'm really excited about this show. This show is all about millennials. And who better to talk about millennials and the Y generation than my two co-hosts, Joanna and Abby. And look who's here.
Oh.
Somebody new.
A boy.
Hey.
Hello.
A boy. Whoa. Wow.
Welcome.
And Matt's like, okay.
Yeah.
This is Matt Hill. I love this. And before we get into who Matt is, because he's a fascinating guy, for some of you who don't know what millennial is, it's the generation where most people were born in 1980 to 82 to 2000. And so that would be millennial, and then Gen X would be after that, and then you've got boomers, and then before millennials, they call it Gen Z. And we did talk about that. If you remember, Bruxy Cavey, the pastor of the Meeting House, was on the show with us, and we talked about how to talk with millennials about Easter. How do you engage with them in conversation about resurrection? The death of Jesus, and is Jesus real? Did this happen? And so I know that if you've been tracking with us, you know that we kind of gave you a bit of overview about the whole millennial generation and some of the challenges, especially in the church, that millennials have in regards to social justice. Is there relevancy with the church? Just issues about culture and society and things. So we had a great discussion. If you missed that, go back to our archives and you can see that show. But today is all about me learning from you. But I have to introduce Matt.
Me, pause.
Me, pause, yeah. But let me talk to you a little bit about Matt, because Matt, I've known just a short time. We're newer friends. But Matt is a 27-year-old millennial who lives in Toronto with his wife, Darcy, and his pug, Walter. He is passionate about developing leaders across many industries, and Matt has been a grateful participant within many rich mentoring relationships over the years, and that have made many significant impacts on his own personal growth and development. And some of his greatest areas of passion, I love this, include reading novels, the Toronto Maple Leafs, coffee, and discovering new cities. So welcome, Matt,
Thank
to
you.
the show.
Thanks for having me.
Talk to us about the dog.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the pug
Most importantly.
Walter, that's what's really key.
Yeah.
What's so great about Walter? Why is he actually famous, Matt?
That's a great question. He has a natural charm, I would say. And I will humbly state that my dog is more famous than I probably ever will be.
Oh,
Okay.
Why is that?
Walter found himself on an Indigo ad this holiday season. You may have seen him. It was a sock.
Oh,
He was the pug in the
really?
sock ad. Yeah.
that's amazing.
No, yeah, well, I'll have to show you. So, yeah, Walter's a famous
That's
guy.
amazing.
Yeah.
He's cute.
Wow.
He's really cute. And here's a picture of Walter.
I do
that
love
you can see.
pugs.
All of you viewers can have a little look at Walter here. Cute, eh? Yeah?
The little
Very
guy.
cute.
Matt, favorite city that you've discovered so far?
Yeah, I am biased toward the city I live in, which is Toronto.
Hey.
I love Toronto for mindset and everything. It's just an awesome city. Sydney, Australia.
Yes.
In terms of
Okay.
cities that I've
I back
discovered
you
and
up
been
on that
to,
one.
love Sydney. So
Okay,
jealous
I've
of the
been there.
beaches.
Really?
Yeah.
Let's go there. I haven't been there, but I do love Toronto. Great city. All right, well, enough about you.
Yeah. Back to you.
Let's talk about let's talk about the Gen Y and millennial generation, because I really want to know, and a lot of people are wanting to know. Big corporations, churches, how to engage this generation. They're spending millions upon millions to billions of dollars just trying to figure out how you spend, where you go,
Right.
what you do, because obviously it's a significant generation. So let's start off with this. What are you not? I mean, as a Gen Xer, I've come up with a lot of ideas of who you are. But what would you say that you are not, just to start us off? What would you say, Matt?
Yeah, I think there's a narrative out there that we're entitled and potentially narcissistic. And I personally, I mean, I'm speaking to my tribe when I say this, because I realize there's almost 2 billion of us on the planet. But I don't see that. I don't see evidence of this narcissism or self-entitlement. I think it's just part of the discovery process of being a young adult, where that comes out a little bit, where we're trying to figure out and form our worldview more than anything. So.
That's good. Abby, what would you say that you're not?
Not settled. I feel like that is something among millennials is, and again, also speaking kind of from my world, but there's always something we're looking for, or something we're chasing, or there's always got to be something more. Whereas when I compare with other generations, it seems to be that they're more calm or settled is kind of the word I'm coming up with, versus us, me. And I mean, I speak also for myself because I just moved across the country, so that's a thing. But you know, there's always more. We always want more, and we're always looking. And I don't know.
Yeah, that's good. Joanna, what would you say that you're not?
Yeah, the first thing I thought of when you said, what are we not, is like, immediately I think we're not all the same. And like there's every other study I'm reading that comes up on Facebook, you know, about some millennial article that's just like clickbait for people to read, is trying to categorize millennials into a few very specific categories. I'm like, it's a huge generation of people. There's lots of different kinds of people who hold, like, we celebrate diversity in so many ways culturally, but then millennials are all the same. That's just simply not the case.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Good.
Yeah.
I think sometimes it might be easier to say you're this and you're this, so that we can define and then
that people can sell to us.
Oh, totally.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely, I would say that too, so that we have sort of a picture of exactly what you are, and then we have a formula that would be like, dot, 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 good.
Right.
Now we're set. Why does that frustrate you? Like, because clearly you're like, well, we are not defined, and we don't like that, and you clearly know that there's a formula being used on you. Why does that frustrate you?
I think it's just the tension of, and you spoke to this, Abby, we're not settled because we've fought for having an open mind and for having a voice. I think that tension can rear itself in ugly ways sometimes, especially when we search for truth, and when we search for truth in the church, and we still want to partner that with having an open mind where there is truth. But also, I think that can rear itself socially in a way that, well, no, I'm not that, or I don't believe those things because I don't want to be tied down to just this specific focused worldview.
Right.
But there's the conundrum, though, because there's that side, but then there's also the side that we'd say you guys don't make decisions. Like, you don't last so long in a company or an organization, or you want to go here and then here and then here, or have multi-jobs. So there's this kind of two-sided thing where, you know, we understand it's like having that not to be tied down, but then also seeing you're everywhere.
Yeah, but I mean, the frustrating thing, I think, when people say, oh, you aren't committed to a job, I'm like, yeah, but that company hasn't committed to us either. There's no such thing as a pension anymore. There's no such thing as these job securities. Employers hire people on contract. Like, I mean, I'm not here to complain about all that kind of stuff, but it's a two-way street where people have to be, I think, really creative and innovative if they want to not only make a life for themselves today, but also make a life for themselves into their retirement years. And so they have to be thinking in really creative ways about how to do that. And a lot of people I know have like a side hustle. So they have their main job, and then they have this job that they do on the side to make extra cash. And everyone can do that these days on the internet. There's all kinds of creative ways to make more money. But people are doing that, and then maybe the side thing turns into the real thing, the full-time thing. Because people are trying to figure out how to make, in a really unstable world that we've grown up in, where there's constant options being exposed to us, we're just trying to find a way to make it work, where we're not seeing organizations or politicians or churches or family life, or there's not a lot of commitment coming at us. So of course we're not committing back.
So you don't think that we're committed to you, and you're saying because of the way that we're hiring or the opportunities? Because I think that's a learning for me. Because I would think from my perspective that there's been a drive to figure you guys out and to commit to trying to attract you, keep you, and empower you. But what you're saying is maybe there's not as much. What is that? Do you think that's true?
I think for me, when I've been job searching, something that's really attracted me to dive into a position and stay there is when they offer mentorship programs. Because then I'm like, okay, so I can enter this not really knowing if it's my fit or that kind of thing. And they can actually mentor me to finding what that fit is. And I think that's a large part of it is we're not really sure, or maybe like there is a fear of commitment to something because we're not sure if we'll like it, we're not sure if it's the right fit, we're not sure if we're going to grow in that. So yes, so if there were an organization, what I would view that commitment as, is mentorship or like some sort of development, so that I know if I'm entering this job and it's not the right fit, I'm not a failure. It's just they're actually going to help me find that fit.
Matt, what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, there's so much going on as both of you speak to, especially in the workplace where it's okay. I feel like for me and so many of my friends, it's okay to fail. It doesn't need to be just black or white, and to be provided with opportunities in all sorts of different areas to wrestle with things. I think that's so important, and to be developed and to be seen for who you are, and not just a cookie cutter. We're going to place you in this position, and you will fit. We are going to learn together. It's going to be a partnership. I think that's important.
Would you say that's the same desire for you within a church context? So you're talking workplace, but let's look at a perspective of millennials within church, and for pastors and people who are older boomers and Gen Xers who are like, how do we keep young people in the church, or not only get them in, but working for us? What would you say would look like for, for
people? I work at a church, and I work on a staff where I think there's about 30 people on our staff team, and maybe half of them are millennials. I don't know if that's I haven't done the math on that. Maybe but there are enough of us around, and we have a really thriving young adults ministry. Hundreds and hundreds of young adults come to our church, and I think they come because we don't talk down to people. We talk up, like we ask more, not less, of people, and we aren't afraid to talk about real issues, big issues, hard issues, to do with like. I don't know if it's anxiety and depression, or it's sexuality, or it's finances and what we do with our money, or it's addiction to things on the internet, or I don't know, whatever it may be. Like, we're going to talk about things that really matter, and we're going to do it in a biblical context, looking at what does the Bible say, and not be afraid to be honest about what the text actually says. And so as a result, there is a certain type of not all types of young adults, millennial age people would like my church, but there's a type of millennial who is resonating with that in our community. And as a result, we're building up people who are then joining our staff team as they are developed in leadership.
That's good. Now, you worked in church ministry, Matt. Would you agree, or what would you say as far as in the church to keep or attract millennials to the church?
Yeah, I think as with any group of people, we're just searching for truth, and we go about it. I think we also want authenticity, and we want that truth to be honest and partnered with vulnerability, where those, instead of having closed-ended headlines, there's a discussion surrounding it and a questioning of, okay, if that's the case, then why might that be? And if we're going to talk about issues, then let's discuss them and learn about multiple different worldviews, as opposed to this is what it means just for us. I think that's fostered by the information that we've grown up with through social media and through all sorts of different mediums, where we've grown up in a culture that appreciates, or in a world that appreciates the multitude or diversity of information, and we want that in the church as well.
Listen, the classic problem is if youth group was all about like how many marshmallows you could shove in your mouth, and then you go off to university, and your first classes are in philosophy and science and psychology and these things that are presenting you with a different worldview that was never discussed in a meaningful way in your church context, then you're like, well, this sounds far more convincing than that youth pastor who was cheering us on to shove marshmallow. There's nothing wrong with shoving marshmallow. But like,
it was a lot of fun.
That's right. I'm sure everyone threw up and it was a great time. But the point is that like if that's all that it is, and you don't really address real issues and people come
Right.
to experience other worldviews and they have no idea how to grapple with that in the context of their own. They've never been trained in it really. Not because they aren't stupid people, because they're actually thinking and smart people.
Yeah.
And so they're seeing really compelling things and they don't, and I know I've seen that too. I'm sure we all have. Like there's stuff that really challenges your thinking and I value that challenge because I want to make sure what I'm standing on is real and it's true, just kind of like what you were saying.
Not to be afraid of bringing that.
Yeah. 'Cause what's true, I want that thing.
Right. Yeah.
And it also prepares you for facing real life, because I feel like that kind of I feel like there's a thing happening with millennials, and again, this is generalizing everybody, but where life hits hard suddenly and you're like, wait a second. And so I think having that plug into a church and attaching to a vision of a church is where the craving, it feels a craving for us to be plugged in. So
What do you guys love? Because I want to kind of like transition into mentoring because that's a big thing, and I know that's what you love, Matt. But what do you love about being your age? I mean, you're all 31 to under, right? You're all that age under. What do you love about this time in your life? This moment. What is it about that the world is affording you or giving to you, or your mindset that is making some really great things?
I feel like if I'm gonna jump in here, I feel like the world is my oyster. And I've also backtracked a little in my life where I was in a stable, kind of box where I couldn't, I owned a home and things like that. I couldn't just pick up and go. Now, I can, and I don't want to waste that. I don't want to squander it. I want to be willing and available to go wherever opportunity might be, or God might call me, or, I don't want to restrict myself. And so for me, in my season of life, that's where I'm at. And I'm on the cusp. I'm that girl that's like, on the cusp of, okay, but I'm getting there where I should be settling down in that age, but I'm not there yet, so I'm not going to rush. I'm just going to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Matt, what about you?
For so many years, I had people telling me you have so much to learn. Which always, my response was always just disgruntlement. I'm like, why can't you see what I know? I think I'm, at this stage of my life, I'm embracing that as opportunity. And I'm hopeful where I'm saying, you know what, maybe I do. Maybe they were right. And I think because of circumstance, I feel like I have time to learn not just book smarts, but by spending time with people. And so I'm very hopeful about what that journey looks like.
Wow, that's
cool.
Good.
Yeah.
So you've just stated to the world that you have still a lot to learn.
I have a lot to learn. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a difficult question to ask because I could take it from so many different angles. But the first thing that jumps out at me is actually I'm thinking more of who's coming up after us, because I feel actually quite appropriately old. I feel my age, and I'm 31, and I'm very aware now of the opportunity and the urgency to reach people who are 10 and 20 years younger than me, and what's going on with them, and what are the issues that they're facing. And if we think we got exposed to these things early, imagine how they're and like what's going on for them. And as someone who works in church, how can we care for them, disciple them, reach them, evangelize them, connect with them? And what are the opportunities on things like technology to innovate, to reach out to people, and like the Gutenberg press did with the Bible hundreds of years ago, like how can we spread this thing with all sorts of new creative ways? So that's like my creative mind going in how to reach the next generation, because I think I don't feel maybe like the whole world's in front of me. I actually feel like time's going by very quickly, and before we know it, we'll be the old folks around the table.
Which makes me the old.
Like what are we doing? What are we doing for the next generation coming? And I want to be part of that.
Yeah.
Well, that's a perfect segue, because this was a two-parter show, and we've totally went like this, but it's like, time. Because you're just talking about this sort of idea of mentoring, and what are we looking at is for like, Gen Z and on. But I know that, Matt, you coming here is because I really wanted us to talk about, mentoring and millennials and what that looks like. Because for those that are older, we're like, how can we support you? but also, how do we, engage in that kind of, next generation support, legacy, and things like that. So for all of you, when I say mentoring, what does that mean? What's that definition mean to you that comes to mind? Because it could be very different than what I think mentoring is.
Yeah.
What would you say?
Yeah, the first thing I think of is just a partnership. It's mutually respectful, the relationship, but I also think there's an intentional focus on development.
Yeah.
And one thing that's been interesting in some of those relationships for me is that goes both ways. It's not hierarchical. It's a partnership, and there is focused development, but there's a fluidity. It's not binary when I think of mentorship.
So in my time, mentoring was like there was somebody here, and then there was somebody here, and there was, kind of like, I know everything, and you met every Tuesday at 10 a.m. or at 6 p.m. for your 1 hour.
Right.
You met, and then you could say, I'm being mentored. Which, that's why for some people, they're like, I don't really want that. Like, that doesn't sound relational. But I love what you said. It's a partnership, and you can learn from one another. What about you two? For mentoring?
Yeah, I mean, I automatically think of that verse that's iron sharpens iron. For me, having a mentor in my life is someone who sees the gold in me and helps me mine it out, because sometimes there's things and there's questions and and I will jump in and say, and also sees the dirt in me and helps me clear it. That's a big thing for me, to have somebody that's able to say, watch your attitude or watch this, because if you don't, that's going to lead to this, right? And so for me, it's having women, and even women like you, Melinda, around me who challenge me, give me opportunities to rise to a challenge, in order to make a difference for someone else. And it's having someone I can go to when I have questions or when I'm struggling with something. I had a phone call with one of my mentors the other day about some questions I had around just church and like just things where I was like, I need a safe place to ask these, and someone who will check my attitude as I do it. Yeah,
it's good.
So,
for me, I look at it like I call it my board of directors. Because like in a board, there's different people who hold different roles. I think one of the things that we do wrongly when we put on a mentor is like they will be all types of things to us, but it's impossible. And so I look at like, who is the person in my life who can mentor me in my finances? Who's the person who can mentor me spiritually? Who's the person who can mentor me in relational, emotional things? Who's the person who can mentor me in career development? Like, and these are different people for different types of aspects of who I am, and not holding the expectation that they will be all of those things, because no person will be great at all those things. Yeah. And for me, I go after mentors. I constantly hear young people talk like they want a mentor, and not just young people, all age of people. I think we desire some version of mentorship, but we're not going after it. And so I remember being with a good friend of mine on the phone recently, and she was describing this woman who she felt she would love to be mentored by professionally. It was a professional relationship. And she said, oh, but that person probably doesn't have enough time. And I'm like, but that's exactly the kind of person you want to be mentored by.
Right.
Because if they're sitting around twiddling their thumbs, they're probably not going to offer you very much as a mentor.
Right.
It's the people who are most busy who would, for me, be I desire their time the most. And if you, respectful, can I take you out for coffee? I want an hour of your time, and I'd love to talk to you about blank.
Yes.
Yeah.
Most of the time, not always, but most of the time, even a very busy person, if you're clear about what you want from them, will say yes. It might not be for 3 more months down the road. Like, you'll book it ages in advance if they're real busy, but they'll give you your
That's good.
Now, Matt, that's good, Joe. Matt, you've been in and received good mentoring. What has that looked like? Because I want this to be a very practical thing for our viewers. Because it's like, I get that a lot. Like, I get people saying to me, will you mentor? And I have. And I've always been angsty because I've always thought that I have to give now my entire life over. And somebody who mentors, I have had to work through redefining that? Because I've said no to a lot of people because I thought the expectations were things that I couldn't do.
Well, even
Right.
like they're asking like, will you marry me?
Yeah.
As opposed to just like, do you want to have coffee and go
Yes.
on a date?
Yes.
Like it's like so like they don't even you don't
Typical
even know.
Christian
Yeah.
dating. Typical Christian.
Like just chill.
Yeah.
Like, go try 30 minutes.
like-
and see
Yes.
if there's a connection
And I
before
think
you
that's right. So
commit to it.
is that
Yeah.
your experience? Like, how have yours worked well? And I think try to, helping me so that when somebody does ask me, I don't freak out myself.
Yeah, for sure. And that's where I think, again, it's mutual. You see something in each other. It needs to be mutual, and that I think that core foundation is the shared experience is development, which in essence it needs to be objective, because as soon as you start applying quantifiable results to that development, then that's no longer a safe place. So to provide development, I have your gold and I'm going to sharpen, I'm going to get there. We're going to mine that gold essentially by developing you, spending time with you, but we see something in each other. It's not just you coming after me because you see I've gone ahead and trailblazed, but no, I see something in you as well, and we can do this together.
Yeah.
You're not alone in this.
I like that. And is it usually what you found, it's sort of a natural connection, or are there times where you mentor where there's not a connection, but like you said, it's something that you can give? Because I think I'm just learning from you, because I'm trying to sort out for myself, and there's many Gen Xers and Boomers that, you know what, we're in a place where people have said, I feel like I want to be available to people, but I don't even know how to start.
Right.
Would it be my initiative, or is it going to be your initiative to come to us? Like, what's that sort of transaction?
It's like who should ask who.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like, how does that work? Because I think
Yeah.
we're just trying to understand it in that context. What would you say?
Yeah, I mean, as I think about that, I don't think I've ever asked someone, will you mentor me? I think it's just been, will you grab a coffee? I see something in you, and see where that conversation goes. And I've had times where we've gone out for coffee, I've gone out for coffee, and even for me, I'm like, I don't know if this has opportunity in terms of development. We'll still have a friendship and a relationship, but I don't know if that development partnership is there. The other thing is, coming out of university, I had a trailblaze mentality where I'm like, I'm going to conquer the world on my own. I can do this thing. And that slowly turned into, when will someone notice me? Like, when will they see my gifts and ability that I see every day when I'm in front of the mirror? And then as I slowly, the world made me a little bit more humble, I realized that unless I advocate my own needs,
Right.
there may not be someone that notices me or gives me a call or sends me a text. There may not. And I've been grateful for some of those people who have noticed and said, hey, I see this in you and I give you feedback. But for me, it's always been, I want to ask if I see something in someone who's gone before me, then it's my responsibility to ask them out. And to Joanna's point, they've always said yes. They've always said, I will make time for that.
And I would say that for me, I have the time to make. I am busy, but I do have that time, and it's just managing my own time. But I think where I'm at in my life and how far I've come and what I've done, I feel that there are things I could give. It's the same as with the woman who helped me get here, Lorna Dewick. I wanted her to mentor, and it's the same thing. I felt that I was not to ask her, and I just waited. And then right after we met, there was just this connection. She said, do you think it'd be good if we kind of met again or meet again? I was like, that's it.
Yeah.
And so I want to be that person, and I think that's important. It's good for me to hear this.
Yeah, and it was sort of like, it sounds like for you a spiritual leading that said, I'm not going to ask. Actually, there was something appropriately that was holding you back. And that just is triggering for me, like, we have needs. The Lord knows our needs.
Right.
Pray to ask for the things that we need. Like, God, I need someone to mentor me in my dating life, or I need someone to mentor me in my career, or I need someone to mentor me in my finances because they're a mess, or and like, if we pray and we have our eyes open, we'll probably be shown who that person could be.
Yes.
And maybe they'll then be prompted to come to us first. You never know.
Right.
But it's good. It's a reminder that it's a prayerful practice.
And I really felt that. It was funny because I was about to ask her, and we just finished like a great lunch, and I just felt this like, don't say anything. And as we were leaving, I was almost in my car, and she turns and goes, wait, what do you think about meeting again? And that's been almost 15 years of a relationship with her.
Cool.
And that's why we're here. So here's the thing. What would you say as sort of some last thoughts that you would want the older generation, and even the younger generation, to know about you? As in, what's the hope, a takeaway that you want to encourage people to know about this millennial generation? I know that, within your own tribe and within your own community, and we're all different, but what would you say that would be really encouraging for us to hear from you? Mm-hmm. I know, it's a big one. It's like, boom, go.
Get back to
Yeah.
week. Wow.
I think that we're looking at what people ahead of us are doing more than they realize. And we're watching them, and we're admiring some of them, and upset by some of them. And we are now shaping the world. We're old enough now to shape it ourselves, but we're watching people ahead of us for cues of how to live and how to do things in work and church and life and family. And I think that's a holy fear that should be in all of us as we think of those coming up after us.
Good. Abby? It's really good.
Yeah, that was really good. I think there's so much creativity among the millennials. Giving, I don't know, I'm trying to figure out how to word this, but I guess just actually encouragement for the millennials in the terms of mentoring. Yeah, look at those people ahead of you who have done what you wanted to do. And I'm going to actually encourage you to go out and ask. I've done it myself. Go out and ask for that mentorship. A lot of those people will be honored to actually be asked. And if they can't do it, they can't do it. But so I guess just like it goes back and forth for the older generations. We need you. We want you. We do. We want your wisdom. For the millennial generations and younger, go out and ask for what you need and what you want, and pray that the Lord will bring it to you as well. But
That's good. Matt, let's finish up with you.
Yeah, for sure. And I think this is a combination of what both of you are saying. We're poised as the largest generation in North America now in terms of the amount of us. What we really need is just your trust from all of those generations that we will fail. We will make mistakes. It won't look like you want it to, but we just need trust, and partnered with love and caring and communication. Just let us know, give us feedback as we go along this journey as well. Because I don't think I can speak for myself when I say I'm not perfect, but I'm figuring it out. And so to give us that trust to empower us with these opportunities is all that I think really we can ask for.
yeah, it's good.
That's inspiring. Thank you. There's a lot of learning. There's a lot of actually takeaways that are in my head that you've really helped me understand a little bit more, and some of the things and action points that I need to take. And to you viewers, I know that you're thinking it's Wednesday, it's Women Crush, but you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna actually put our Women Crush Wednesday online. She is amazing. She is a millennial and making huge waves in Canada and around the world. And so we're gonna just tease that because you need to go online. And also I know that Matt, I'm putting on the spot, you're going to write a blog post
about
your thoughts, and we all are, and the learnings I did. So thank you all. I think we need to do this more, to have the conversations. I think how we learn together from generation to generation is to do this, to understand one another. So thank you. And Matt, thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me.
Say hi to Walter.
I will. Yeah, absolutely.
Why don't you bring him? Next time you're coming, we're going to bring him. Yeah, so thanks again.
And our ratings.
So to you, our viewers, make sure you go onto our blog post, check out our resources, and if you have any questions too about how you can get engaged with mentoring, or questions about millennials or anything, make sure that you go onto our website, say hello, and we'd love to chat with you. Anyway, we will see you on Friday. Thanks for hanging with us.